So what you're seeing here, guys, is the brand new BMW iX2. And this basically serves as one of your two entry points into the world of BMW electric vehicle ownership. The question now is, does this car have enough style and substance to justify its price premium over the BMW iX1? Well, that's exactly what we're going to be finding out in this car's full review.
More on that later. For now, if you like what you're seeing, or even these kinds of reviews, why not hit subscribe and hit the bell?
What a car! What a car this thing! So as a reminder, with the BMW iX2, this serves basically as the coupe version of the BMW iX1. So yeah, let's just say na even BMW kinda admits that the iX2 isn't for everyone, but personally for me, especially with this standard M Sport package, I really like the way that the BMW iX2 looks. So of course, wala ka naman ditong need for a lot of cooling, and so therefore this kidney grille here has been enclosed. And then with the M Sport package, what you get here in this iX2 is a sportier front bumper design, and that is basically complemented by these boomerang-shaped LED daytime running lights, which gives this front end a more distinct look. And so yun nga, being the BMW iX2, as you're gonna be seeing here, you have this nicely tapered roofline, basically mirroring that of cars like the BMW X4 and also the X6. And then, you also have a clean tailgate here, in which you're gonna be seeing here the BMW logo, and that is worth pointing out here because this is how you open the tailgate. Yeah, and you're basically left here with a decently sized trunk. Compared to the iX1 or even the X1, syempre mas maliit ka ng tailgate, mostly due to this sloping roofline. But as far as other electric crossover SUVs go, this is actually pretty good nonetheless. And then, yeah, let's wait for this to close. You also have here this lovely ducktail spoiler, and also as mentioned, being the M Sport version, you also have sporty rear bumpers. Now, admittedly, hindi talaga for everyone in design ng iX2, but personally for me, I actually really like the way that the BMW iX2 looks, especially compared to the previous generation model na sa totoo lang, in terms of the way that car looks, the previous iX2 merely looked like a taller hatchback. And so, with that in mind, let us hop inside this car na ngayon to see what else the iX2 has to offer. Now here inside the BMW iX2, as you're gonna be seeing here, in terms of the overall design, if the exterior looks distinct over the iX1, ito nga lang interior niya is pretty much the same as that car. Not exactly a bad thing though, because overall, in terms of the premium feel, it is actually nicer. Though, being the M Sport version, you get even nicer materials here, and also a bit of M Sport touches, such as the blue stitching on the dash, the microfiber or suede inserts, and also this lovely aluminum surface surrounding the car's interior. Now, as for the overall build quality, in typical BMW fashion, everything feels very robust and well built. And then, just like the BMW iX1 or even the X1, you have your iDrive 9 operating system. So you have these two large screens na in this case, being the front-wheel drive BMWs, they don't have the rotary knob controller, the iDrive signature controller. And instead, everything has to be controlled through the car's touchscreen. To be fair naman, in the first place, the latest iDrive versions tend to be heavily skewed towards a touchscreen. And so, yeah, in terms of functionality, it's very diverse. Napakadami mong mga features here with the iDrive 9 infotainment system. And also worth mentioning is that, like every other BMW, itong iX2 nga pala comes with BMW Connected Drive. So, at the moment, my smartphone's connected to the vehicle. I mean, not through Bluetooth or even Apple CarPlay, which, of course, this car has wireless Apple CarPlay and Android Auto. But what I mean by that is, I am able to control various vehicle functions through BMW Connected Drive. So, if you have an iPhone, You have basically the My BMW app and basically monitor your vehicle even from afar. Now, here in the iX2, you also have a nice Harman Kardon sound system, and finally worth mentioning is that there is actually a lot of practicality all over this car's interior. So I actually love the fact that you have this charging tray, and then you also have this large central storage under the car center console. And yeah, basically with that in mind, I think that is a good time for us to hop into the car's back seats, which as you're gonna be seeing here, there is a good amount of space. Not the best, but a good amount. Because in terms of legroom, it's actually pretty good naman. And I can even put my feet under the floor. My main concern though is headroom, because for my 5'11" height, it's actually pretty okay. But if sumandal na ako ng ganito, and wait lang, taas natin yung rear headrest. Yeah, my hair is already brushing with the headliner ng iX2. And then, yeah, you do pay for a bit of rear headroom nga lang for this sloping roofline na, let's be honest, not exactly everyone is a fan of. But yun nga, again, personally, I actually do like the way this roofline tapers. And anyway, as you're gonna be seeing here, you have here your center armrest with 2 cup holders, along with 2 USB-C fast charging ports and your own climate vents. Not your own climate zone nga lang, but at least you do have 2 climate vents here at the back of the BMW iX2. And then, lastly, as for the middle seat, hindi ganun kalapad yung interior ng iX2, and so, if I'm gonna be sitting here, umaagaw na ako ng shoulder room nga lang with the outer passengers. So, best kept for 2, the interior ng iX2. But anyway, with that in mind, let us now talk about the car's drivetrain, so as the car's driving experience.
Now with one variant to choose from here in the Philippines, what you get here is the front-wheel drive eDrive 20. Together with its 64.7 kWh battery, the iX2 can travel up to 478 kilometers based on the WLTP cycle. Now charging speeds are up to 11 kilowatts in AC, while DC fast charging tops out at 130 kilowatts, which is good for a 10 to 80% charge in just 29 minutes. Now with all of these specs and details out of the way, let us now take the BMW iX2 for a drive.
So how does the BMW iX2 perform in these high-speed driving scenarios? So as expected, being a German luxury car, the BMW iX2 pretty much excels in this department. So as usual with the German luxury car, the platform is very rigid. The UKL platform that's shared with the BMW X1 and even the Mini Countryman is a very nice platform to begin with. Yun nga lang though, this is not a bespoke EV architecture. So in terms of efficiency, in terms of the long-range capability, a bespoke EV platform is still gonna be much more advantageous compared to the BMW iX2. So think of cars like even the cheaper Hyundai Ioniq 5, because that car is based on the EGMP bespoke EV platform. And of course, we have to mention the Tesla Model Y, because dati, at least in terms of price, a rival to the BMWs. Pero ngayon kasi, Tesla's really been undercutting its prices for the past years, even in the US and in Europe. So these days, Tesla is pretty much in the mainstream market na, despite their innovations, despite them being one of the first to create EVs in a bespoke EV architecture. But going back to the iX2, you have to remember as well na it is a quiet platform. The ride absorption is, well, it's on the firm side since this is an M Sport vehicle. Firmer, I think, than the BMW X1, but not too bad naman. As you speed up though, in typical BMW fashion, the ride becomes better. So here in these high speeds, maganda yung ride quality niya. Yun nga lang, I forgot to mention kanina in the interior segment na, yeah, there is not much physical controls here, but yun nga, though you do have voice commands, like, I mean, you can summon, hey BMW, and ask it to do commands like turn up the air conditioning, for example. Yeah, I would still much rather have physical controls, especially ngayon na mainit sa labas, and I kinda wanna adjust the temperature time to time. And so you have to remember once again nga na the BMW X1 and the iX2, and thus even the iX1, are all mechanically related. And what I reviewed before was the S-Drive 18D na BMW X1, so that's a diesel version basically. Pero whenever people would ask me whether I prefer gas or electric, if the gas engine or the diesel engine is not a selling point in terms of the way it sounds, in terms of the character, I would rather let that go and swap that for a more refined electric motor instead, because not all engines naman talaga in the first place sound nice. Not all engines are as nice as, for example, the Boxer 6 in the Porsche 911, or for example, the inline 6 in the BMW M3. So, if we're just talking about commodity car engines, engines for cars na hindi naman sporty, hindi naman maingay, hindi naman maganda yung tunog, I would rather get rid of their engines in favor of this electric drivetrain. And as a matter of fact, yun nga, I'm gonna put my foot down. Yeah, so basically, you can pretty much expect the EV drivetrain to be very much more responsive compared to the S-Drive 18D na X1. No doubt if we will directly compare the iX1 with the S-Drive 18D, the diesel X1, I would much rather have the iX1 over the diesel X1. And that would pretty much be the case then if the X2 were to be sold in the Philippines with a diesel engine. Now, as for the consumption of this vehicle, currently it's doing 5.5 kilometers per kilowatt hour, which is increasing pa sa totoo lang as we drive this car, because the car has only been with me for a couple of days. So that would mean a real-world range na, based on my experience, ayun, so it just went up to 5.6 kilometers per kilowatt hour. If this does reach 6 kilometers per kilowatt hour, then that is the time when this car is finally matching to the efficiency figure of the Hyundai Ioniq 5. But yeah, for now, it's hovering in the 5.5 to 5.7 kilometer per kilowatt hour efficiency figure. Now, as for the advanced driver assistance systems of this car, well, what you get is automatic emergency braking, lane departure warning, and blind spot warning, but that is pretty much it. So, wala ka dito adaptive cruise control, wala ka ring lane centering, but at least on the upside, though you don't get those semi-autonomous advanced driver assist features, at least you do get the basic stuff, the basic necessities like automatic emergency braking and blind spot warning. For me naman, it's those two that are critical these days. But hopefully, yeah, BMW would offer adaptive cruise control in the future, because all of their newer cars these days, like the BMW X3, the X5 plug-in hybrid, even the M5 plug-in hybrid, as a matter of fact, they all come with a full load of advanced driver assistance systems. So now here are some twisty roads. How does a BMW iX2 perform? Is it still a sporty BMW with this front-wheel drive electric architecture, or rather drivetrain? So let's put the car in sport mode. And yun nga, as you've been hearing kanina, you're probably hearing the Hans Zimmer sounds. And so totoo lang, I actually am a fan of these Hans Zimmer sounds, because it really does add a bit of emotion, a bit of dimension with the electric driving experience of a BMW. And so, yeah, here's a corner, and yeah, actually surprisingly, I wasn't expecting much, because yun nga, coming from electric front-wheel drive BYDs na they're not necessarily the best in terms of power delivery or how they put down their power to the wheels. Pero here in the BMW iX2, I think it's actually pretty good. So kanina, out on the highway, wala tayong masyadong sensations of torque steer when we jab the throttle. Merong onte, but not enough for me to be alarmed or to take note of it that much. Merong onte, pero not pronounced. Here though, when you're driving this car in the twisties, yeah, so that is when I would prefer a rear-wheel drive layout for an EV drivetrain. Pero to its credit, even if you floor the throttle, hindi magi-screech yung tires, which means na BMW has done a good job with how they tune the car's electric drivetrain, and also how the wheel and tire package has been well designed to basically match the entire vehicle. Because yun nga, though again, hindi sila magkakalaban, but worth mentioning is the BYD Atto 3 nga na that was screeching all over the place on tires niya whenever you jab the throttle. And of course, as expected, a lot of torque steer as well. So here in the iX2, it's much better controlled, because there really isn't a lot of competition sa segment niya na front-wheel drive, yung kanilang mga electric luxury vehicles. EQA, but I haven't driven the EQA. But totoo lang, I'm not even expecting a lot in that car, if I were being honest. But yeah, nevertheless, drivetrain, it is pretty good. How about the handling equation? Yeah, so the steering, reasonably sharp. There's a decent amount of feedback. Not the most, not a lot, but good enough. Especially considering the segment this vehicle is competing with. Yeah, and here are more corners. And yeah, in typical BMW fashion, they really do body control really well. There's plenty of grip, even if it's front-wheel drive. The front end bites pretty well with the ground. And so yeah, handling-wise, this is still a good EV, itong iX2. Siguro the question mo na ngayon is, how does it compare to the Hyundai Ioniq 5 na, again, though hindi naman siya luxury, but rear-wheel drive architecture and a bespoke EV platform. Aaminin ko though, there are a bit of nuances wherein I prefer the Hyundai Ioniq 5 pa nga over the BMW iX2 because, yun nga, being rear-wheel drive, that car puts its power down much better, I think, compared to the iX2. Syempre, rear-wheel drive, so it's gonna send all of that power to the rear wheels, and then when it squats down, when the car accelerates, yeah, it puts more load to the rear tires, thus making it better off the line when it accelerates hard versus the BMW iX2. I haven't driven the Model Y though, but I have a feeling na based on its bespoke EV architecture and the rear-wheel drive layout, or even dual-motor all-wheel drive na rear bias sa totoo lang, yeah, on paper, the Model Y should offer a similar driving dynamic as with the Hyundai Ioniq 5. So, yeah, that's a predicament with the BMW iX2 for me. Don't get me wrong, it's a nice EV. It drives really well, it is quiet, it is fun, well-engineered and whatnot. It just so happens talaga na this shift towards electric vehicles has somewhat reshuffled the status quo, because even the Hyundai Ioniq 5 is considered to be really, really nice these days, especially when you consider that the BMW iX2 isn't even a cheap car. How much does this car cost? Yeah, it's not in a bespoke EV architecture. It is also a front-wheel drive electric car, but at 4.3 million pesos, nearly 4.3 million pesos, it is on the expensive side, if I were being honest. Dati, in isolation, like, nung wala pa yung Tesla sa mundo, it is well-priced, but you have to remember rin na in the EV realm, ang benchmark naman ng karamihan ng tao, though, let's be honest, it's kind of growing stale, kind of growing old na rin yung lineup nila, but with their bespoke EV architecture, with their highly efficient drivetrains, and all of those software-defined vehicle thingies na basically have a lot of novelties with the car's infotainment and telematic system, let's just say na Tesla's entry into the Philippines has somewhat heated up the electric vehicle game, especially I think with this upper end of the EV game. Interior quality-wise, I do prefer pa rin the BMW iX2. I prefer also this interior quality over the Hyundai Ioniq 5. But again, the gap between the Ioniq 5 and yun nga, the Tesla Model Y, quality-wise, driving feel-wise, hindi rin siya ganong kalakihan, if I were being honest.